Good afternoon, everyone. Now we will proceed for our next discussion. This time deals about the worldviews of human existence. The first is cosmocentrism. It is a singular defining belief of astronomism and the worldview of the entire astronomic tradition, in which the cosmos is considered to be the only empirically real entity to provide the existential purpose of humanity. The center is in the cosmos and or nature. So it started all in the cosmos. The main importance is in the nature or in the universe, and the rest of the species exists um, considering cosmos being the center. So uh, it places the highest importance emphasis in the universe or of nature, and then the man or the human being is tend to be secondary, studied and understood in relation to cosmos. So here the cosmos is the center, and have put into greater importance. All creatures have to follow then the natural law of the nature, including human person. He has to live accordingly to the rules of the nature. He needs to follow the law of nature for his survival, and that we see man not being the master of the creation, but man is just being a part of the cosmos. So thus, human person can be known in relation only to the creation. So the whole Greek philosophy gives importance to the cosmos and nature. So their thoughts and philosophies are in view of nature, and that human person is just part of it. As we said above, the person here refers all human beings and thus to all mankind. Cosmos, well, according to the story, it originates from a germ, and then it is impregnated by the hot and cold temperature, and then it created a sphere of fire. Eventually it reproduced and then turned the universe, and then the succeeding uh, creations of the other species on Earth. Next is Theocentrism. So Theocentrism is the next era of the Christian period. Theocentrism is understood where the human person being studied in relation or in reference to God. The center of all natural, supernatural reality is God, all being basically, initially and ultimately focuses around in the transcendent God and finds him in Theorizon de Tre. Okay. The super theocentrism, meaning God-centered, an explicit recognition of the fact, is a characteristic of certain philosophies about religion, theologies, systematic otherwise, and asceticism. So here, the human person is considered to be created according to the image and likeness of God. He is being created by God in his own image and likeness, as it is mentioned in the first book of chapter of Genesis in the Bible. So, hindi pala dapat natin ini-excuse ang sarili natin na tao lang tayo at nagkakasala din. Because we are created according to the image and likeness of God. And knowing him through Jesus Christ, through which lived here on earth, na 100% human and 100% God, yet he did not sin. So we cannot reason out to be like that. That's what I have thought of then during my high school in value subject. In this period, the philosophers, church fathers, and scholastics studied human person as God's creature. So human person had to follow God's law to live a proper life in the society and with others. With the modern HLD of human person takes the anthropocentric turn, leaving aside both cosmocentric and theocentric perspective. So here, the human person himself is the point of the departure, that he himself becomes the basis and the object of the study of matter, and that in philosophy, theocentrism may ultimately be regarded as the answer to man's intellectual quest for a unified explanation of the orientation of his own being to the whole order of being. The next is anthropocentrism. So, a centrism is a worldview or way of looking at things that places some particular value or group at the center. Now, when it comes to anthropocentrism, um, it is the worldview that considers human to be the most important thing in the universe, or at least on the planet Earth. In contrast to the other view, it considers human to be particular species of animal without a greater intrinsic value any other species of organism that occur in Earth. But in anthropocentrism, of course, there are a number of implications which strongly influence the way humans interpret the relationship with other species and with natures and in ecosystems. And some of these are as follows. Like, when we say anthropocentrism, we suggest that humans have greater intrinsic value than other species. We are the highest form of animal because we reason out. The view that humans are greater intrinsic value other than species also influences the ethical judgment. So meron tayong moral obligations about the interactions with other organisms. So for example, because of our survival instinct, most of the animals are often treated cruelly, through medical research and agriculture for the treatment of other species labeled as speciesism by some ethicists. Okay? So we abuse, knowing that we are a rational form, we are a rational being, and that we are the highest form of animal. So anthropocentrism is found in both religious and secular philosophies. So according to the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, humans alone have self-consciousness. Humans therefore fundamentally different rank and dignity from all other beings, while animals can be treated as means to human ends. That's the thing that we understood. We normally abuse that kind of power, understanding that we are in dominion of other creatures. The moral status of humans thus awarded as the basis of the excellence. That could be the picture. Okay. In regards to anthropocentrism, we understand other species only for our own human ends, used for our human ends. So the reason why this consequentialist anthropocentrism came about, it is an idea that human actions are valued according to their consequences for other humans. This is understood, our action being good or bad depending on its outcome. So what is actually the outcome of our actions? Well, before, since it is already said that we are of highest intrinsic value and we understand other species under us and that we are only using them for our human ends, we thought that they are unlimited. Okay. The resources, natural resources, and other species understood to be unlimited and always available for our consumption. So how did we end up abusing them? That comes a shortage. With the population explosions, now comes the shortage of the natural resources. So there's a problem of allocations with regards to scarcity. Okay? Because the humans tend to abuse that power. We use other species for our ends. And the replacement products in regards to shortage is always made available on the basis of law and supply and demand. So the status is awarded by the technical products that we see na dati, mga taniman ng palay, mga forests, now comes to be buildings, bridges, dams, and highways. The basic premise is the idea that human interests rule the world. And that is the nature considered relevant only as a resources to be exploited by humans. So the crisis arises with regards to the available of resources. It's primarily technical problem. It's the simplest form that could mean humans need to move to a new place. Okay. And then when the resources run out, so we go to another places again. When no place is available, other measures can be taken, such as moving pollutants to a different place or using technology to get rid of the toxic elements. Then this comes deontological anthropocentrism, deals primarily with the rights and duties that are carried by ethical subjects or by those affected by intended action. So we are understood to be of higher rational value. So we should be exercising this ethics. Okay? To be an authentic human being is to exercise freedom, to accept morality binding restrictions on free choices of action. So we reject selfishness. We always consider the sake of other people, for the sake of other people, for the higher moral rationality, because we are of moral community. We are not self-sufficient. We need other people, and we need the resources. So might as well we take good care of them so that the other generations would be able to savor the same privileges given to us. So when we tend to get into actions, let's take that we have the freedom, but with an accordance of responsibility of morally binding restrictions. Anthropocentrism common with Judeo-Christian tradition and in Islam, which is part because God is perceived an anthropomorphic categories, but also because of the primary concern by theology is the humanity's relations with God. So they have been arguing about the anthropocentrism concerns of human well-being should be based on the enlightened self-interest in which humans regard themselves as partly constituted by the natural world and pay sufficient attention to sound metaphysics, scientific theories, values, and moral ideals. Now we come with creationism. Okay, so these pictures talk us that we can do nothing without God, and it is God who always seeks us. Okay. Creationism, in the general sense, refers to the theory that God made the world on his own by miraculously means out of nothing. The nature and aspects such as universe, earth, life of humans originated with the supernatural, divine creation. So in a more specific sense, one encountered creationism is the theory in the Bible, particularly in the early chapters of Genesis, due to the guide of the history of the universe and the history of life, including us humans down here on earth. So this encompasses a number of beliefs. Okay, a short time since the beginning of the evening, young earth creationists think of the Archbishop, also 16th century calculations about 6,000 years ago of a good estimate. 6 days creations, this is a debate on the meaning of a day and the context of some insisting in a literally 24 hours and other more flexible. Because it is God who first started to make time bound and space. Miraculously, creations of all, including Homo sapien, which include the debate whether Adam and Eve came together or it is Eve came afterward to keep Adam a company. So it is a worldwide flood sometime after the initial creation through which only a limited number of humans and animals survived, the story of Noah's Ark. And the other events such as the Tower of Babel and the turning of the Lot's wife into a pillar of salt. These are the stories in the first book of the Bible. Creationists have variously been known as a fundamentalist of biblical literalists and sometimes scientific creationism. So Next is materialism. It is a name given to a family of doctrines concerning with the nature of the world that give us to the matter a primary position and accord to mind, secondary dependent reality, or even not at all. Materialism is the name. It is everything that can be explained in terms of matter. When you look around, everything you see is matter. It occupies space, it occupies time, it has shape, the duration, the mass, the velocity, the inertia, the electric charge, the spin, the rigidity, the temperature, the hardness, the magnetic field intensity, and the light. And when we say the light, it is an ongoing praise that it never stops, that the description is continuous. It indicates the list of other physical properties. It means open-ended. And that is how we understand the material thing as composed in the properties of the object by the science of physics. So what this explains? Everything can be explained in matter. And that goods and wealth are the most important thing. This is how people value good things over relationship. So people now put importance with acquiring wealth rather than friendship, family, and relationship. That is what happens. People tend to accumulate these things, and that their focus is more on valuing these matters and these things. Next is the extreme materialism. It asserts that the real world is spatio-temporal and consists of material things and nothing else. So first, space and time. Space and time must also be included, and there are realities rather than mere systems of relations. So they are not material things in any straightforward sense. They do not give importance to relationship. I mean, peoples and interactions, their interactions, forming relationship. Second, materialism is fundamentally doctrine concerning the character of the concrete natural world we inhabit. And it is probably best to set one side of the controversial over abstract entities such as numbers of geometric figures or the relations of the installment of contradiction studied in logic. Strictly, when we say extreme materialism, it is undertaken to show to the extent of that which are genuine realities. They are all material in nature, but the issue raised of the abstract entities will not be pursued here. It is with the extreme materialist views in the concrete realm, and that this entry is concerned, and it what follows, materialist is to be understood in the sense. Philosophers and scientists have had various views regarding these constitutions and behavior of material objects, and over whether every material things of body or whether forces or waves or fields or force are also realities in that their own right. Thus, the cardinal tenet of materialism, everything that is material, covers a range of different claims. To accommodate these differences, a material thing can be defined as a being possessing many physical properties and no other properties, are being made up of parts of all whose properties are physical. And that's it.
For more ICCT College's video updates, please subscribe and click the notification button.